Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 163. And yeah, it's a Black History Month, and I know last week I talked about some stuff too, and other stuff I want to hit on today too. Uh, Black History Month, man. It's not just the month of February, but it's also Black History Month is American history. And I was having a conversation with somebody, and growing up in Hawaii, and a lot of people don't understand the culture here, and well, people who move from the mainland don't understand how big culture is here. And this person happens to be native Hawaiian, and so we're sitting there having a conversation, and the topic of you know culture came up, and I said, yeah, culture is very important. History is very important. And you have to realize that if you don't know your history, how can you know your present, right? And I, for one, am never gonna bash somebody's culture, the history of it, whatever it is. If anything, I'm gonna want to learn more about it. I'm gonna want to understand it more and do research on it and all this stuff, right? It's the same way with Black history. There's so much shit that we haven't what's the word I want to use? We haven't unearthed it or discovered because simply everybody just thinks about Black history, slavery, Black history, rap music, this and that, right? And while yes, it's true, the trauma from all those centuries ago still prevalent. The racism is still prevalent. The segregation is still prevalent. It may not be as it was in the 1960s, but it's still there. You know, it's still there because it's what we deal with every day. The racial profiling from police, um, Tamir Rice, George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, you know, Sandra Bland, um, all that stuff. You know, and it's extremely important to realize that everybody wants to be shocked when this happens. Everybody wants to be appalled and everything like that. And I get it, and you should be. But in the Black community, it's like this is everyday life. And that one brother who got shot while jogging, Ahmed, yeah. I mean, it happens every day. Um, it just so happens that somebody caught video of the whole ordeal going down, and they tried to bury that video. And when I say they, I mean the attorney general and the guys who committed that murder. And what's also um, saddening about the whole situation is that bruh should be here. You know, he should be here with us living. You know, Ahmad Aubrey. My bad, Ahmad Aubrey. That's the brother's name. Man, he should be with us. Same thing with Trayvon. Same thing with George Floyd. Same thing with Sean Bell. Um, Walter Scott. All them brothers I just listed, they should all be here. Because you don't understand how it's like to be racially profiled, um, to be judged just simply because your skin's a little different. Or take, for instance, Henry Louis Gates Jr. This guy was a professor at University of Illinois or University of Chicago, one of the two, right? Anyway, quick backstory about that. My man gets back from the trip, right? And then he gets locked out of his own house. So he breaks into the back door to get into his own house, because for whatever reason, he couldn't get in through the front door. Mind you, one of the neighbors sees somebody breaking into the back of the house, and they call the cops. I don't have a problem with that, you know, like because they obviously don't know that it's him, the homeowner, right? Cop show up. My man shows proof that he is the house owner. Proof that he owns his house. Proof that he is indeed not breaking and entering into a property that's not his. Right then and there, the cop should have been like, "Hey, sir, have a good day," you know, and if help, maybe even help him get into his own house. Nah, this cop proceeds to arrest him and detain him. And they said, "Well, like, you got one phone call to make." Guess who he's best friends with? The current president of the United States of America, Barack Obama. What's that tell you? So he makes that phone call, and they do the whole spill. And it just goes to show you that you can do everything right. You have all the proof, all the papers, boom, 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 boom. And you still gonna end up in shackles. And so when people talk about Black history, it's not just slavery, the music, the culture, the trauma, the generational trauma that comes with it. It's the everyday bullshit that we have to deal with as well. And rap music, as much as I love it, because y'all see the setup behind me, it perpetuates a culture that's okay with the killing of young Black men, unwed mothers, and everything out there, and the disrespect that people go through in terms of our women. And I don't mean just Black women in general, just women in general. The misogyny it's extremely not okay. It's not normal. And I think it's imperative that, and I'm tying all this back into culture. That conversation that me and this individual had about Hawaiian culture, it's extremely important to realize that culture is very important. Because if you don't know what your culture is, or if you can't tap into that, that's why it's very important for not just young Black people or young Black men like myself, and you know, and then the cats coming up under me, is that we all have a job to do. We all have an obligation, if you must, to pass on shit that's right. You know, it's cool to have a 9 to 5. It's cool to have a college education. You know, it's cool to be a doctor, a lawyer. You know, because I'm gonna be real with you, dog. It's like, a lot of us ain't gonna make it in rap. A lot of us ain't we ain't gonna be NFL football players. We're not gonna be NBA basketball players. You know, the probability of us getting into those arenas is extremely, extremely slim. You have to be extremely, extremely good to do that. Because I think Kenny Smith told his son once. He's like, man, in the history, and this is years ago, so the numbers is obviously greater now. I think he said in the history of basketball, there's only been 45 4,500 people who play professional basketball. There's 8 billion people in the world, bro. What's that tell you? It's either you gotta be extremely, extremely good at what you're doing, or you have to have many, many breaks to get to where you want to go. And I think that's extremely important to realize that too, because education is never frowned upon, man. Getting a college degree, whether it's a bachelor's, master's, or PhD, is never frowned upon. You know, being in love with science or having a love for the arts, history, whatever it is, man, that's it's okay. And I think a lot of us young kids were brainwashed to think like, yeah, man, like um like going to college if you doing X, Y, and Z is stupid. Like, no, going to prison is stupid. Selling drugs is stupid. You know, getting arrested for dumb shit is stupid. I was once told, man, by a guy I grew up with. He said, man, rappers don't go to college. They don't get college degrees. Why not? And I said, yo, I was like, you realize that a lot of the rappers that you listen to went to college? Or they were exposed to something that by somebody who went to college, who taught them how to write, who taught them how to do wordplay, who, you know, it's like the brother Scarface. He is so musically talented, it's insane. I mean, this guy plays so many instruments, it's uncanny the amount of skill that he has. And then you got brothers like David Banner, you know, who have college scholarships, who, you know, who help kids from the hood get out and go to college. You know, you got people like Ludacris, T.I., who have all these scholarships, you know, to HBCUs and everything, right? You have all these people of influence who are doing shit behind the scenes to help young black people or people of color in general to get where they need to go. When I was in college, there was this board in the main building of my school, and it was a scholarship board, and teachers, literally professors, would have their own scholarships. And it would be like, you know, 1,500, 2 G's, whatever it is. But it was scholarship money available for kids who wanted. It was another form of Pell Grants, right? And I thought that was really dope. And all you had to do was sign up for it, and you would get a check for it. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy because it's like when you have people who teach you the subject matter and you see that they have their own scholarships. And a lot of it has, you know, like I think the GPA had to be above a 2.0. Like they made it the minimum because they know, hey, like we know that some of you guys have kids, work full time, whatever it is, boom, 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 boom. But here, let me go set you up with this little, a little money here in your pocket so you cool for the semester. Because 2 G's for a college kid goes a long way. Um, yeah, man, and I think it's like, um, when you talk about culture and everything too, you got to realize it takes a village to raise kids, bro. It takes a village to make sure that people are well-rounded individuals. You know, my entire circle that I have personally, all the brothers that I know, either they have college degrees and or they're professionals in their field. You know, I know lawyers, uh, professors. I know dudes who work in the school system too. It's like my circle is so diverse, you know. And but if you look at them, they be like, yo, like they don't go around bragging about this shit. They don't go around doing X, Y, Z. But like, what for? Why brag about it when you're doing the work behind the scenes? And the thing about it, if you are doing the work, there's no need to brag about it because it's going to show up anyway. It's going to show up in different ways. Um, I got this thing that I took from I Am Athlete when I Am Athlete was first starting out. Ocho Cinco had this thing where it would be like, oh, mental health check. Scale of 1 to 10, where you at? You know, financially, boom, 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 boom. And I took the same way. So every Sunday, I text all the brothers in my phone the same text message every Sunday without fail. And then I add in other people too, because you realize that it's not just black men who are hurting; it's everybody who's hurting. Everybody has trauma. Everybody has all this extra shit that they're going through. And when I think of Black history, that's what I think about. It's not what we went through; it's what we're currently going through. And what we're currently going through is a lot more traumatic than it was during slavery, during civil rights movements and everything like that too. Don't get me wrong, all that trauma, all that shit does play a role. But right now, I can't fix the past, dog. The only thing I can do is make the present better. So that way our future is better. Because without fixing the present, you can't guarantee a better future. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people just assume, oh, well, it's X, Y, and Z. It's boom, boom, boom. It's this, it's that. And it's not. Learning about history is cool. It's great. But in order to fix the problems of the past, you got to recognize that the problems of the past are also still in the present. You don't fix the future without fixing the present first. And you can't fix the present without acknowledging the trauma and the scars of the past. I'm going to say it one more time. You can't fix the problems of the future without acknowledging the problems of the present, without dealing with the problems and the scars and the trauma of the past first. You got to recognize it. You got to see where it came from. Then you got to use the present to fix it. And I think that's so imperative because a lot of people, they just want to blame it. Oh, well, my mama did this, my daddy did this, boom, 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 boom. Like, bro, so what? That's your history. Okay, cool. But just because that's your history doesn't mean that has to be your present and your future. Quick backstory, man. My paternal grandmother, God rest her soul. Pops, God rest his soul. My pops grew up hood, man. He grew up in a spot, in Baltimore, Maryland. They had places called row houses, right? And basically, there's a whole historical reasoning behind row houses in the city of Baltimore. Anyway, he grew up in poverty. He grew up where he could do this, stretch his arms out like this, and he could touch both walls in the house that he grew up in. My grandmother, she was a domestic. She used to wash windows. She basically a maid, right? And my father, he knew that the life that he had wasn't the greatest, and he knew it wasn't meant for him. And so I kid you not, the morning he turned 18, he joined the Navy. And spent 22 years in the Navy. He used to always tell me when he was alive, man, I hated every day of the military. But you know what? It got me here. It got me to a point where I can provide for my family. It taught me skills, and it gave me an opportunity to be better. And in turn, he never said this, but I know he always wanted the best for me and my brother, and my brothers, I should say. But the way he went about it probably wasn't the best way. And what's crazy, I don't want to say what's crazy to me, but what I didn't understand then, what I understand now is that there was a lot of trauma that my dad didn't deal with, or he didn't know how to deal with it. And so that manifested itself in different ways. He wasn't the most patient guy. He knew how to deal with conflict, but he didn't know how to deal with conflict in a healthy way. He wasn't a bad father, because he provided, clothes on my back, shoes on my feet. He made sure his son was fresh. He would back in the day, he would always pick up my clothes for me when I was in grade school. He was like, "Hey man, wear this with this, boom, 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 and you gonna kill him in the morning." And I did kill him in the morning. But yeah, man, I look back on all those lessons that he was teaching me. He was imparting on me. And the biggest thing that he always told me, he's like, man, nobody cares about your disability. Nobody cares if you're black, brown, purple, whatever, You just got to go out there and you got to do the best you can. And then you have to develop this. He's like, don't get me wrong, because these work too, because they do. But he's like, it's all about developing your mind, man. Become mentally strong and knowing when to be emotional in certain situations and knowing when to dial it back, because you don't want your emotions to control you in every situation, because, excuse me, that could be detrimental to what you have going on, right? And it's true. And I try to take everything that he taught me, everything that he imparted on me, and I try to take bits and pieces of that and apply it to my life. And in different arenas, it works. In several arenas, it works. But what I noticed too is that I don't have to respond to everything. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, you know what? You're right, bro. And keep it pushing. Like, I'm not going to sit there and say X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to do all this going back and forth with people, because it's pointless. Like, why would I waste my time with that? Why would I waste my time going back and forth with somebody who has a different opinion of me? I'm not saying that right. I'm not saying that wrong. But it's like, sometimes it's like, it's not worth it. But what are you doing going back and forth with somebody who doesn't want to see their problem from a different point of view, or who doesn't want to take self-accountability, man? And I'm big on that too. I'm never gonna sit there and have you bash somebody or have you talk bad about somebody, because at a certain point in time too, that particular individual or those individuals were doing the best they can, or whatever, or they were doing everything they could for you in a positive way. So if that's the case, then yeah, man. But it goes back to culture to wrap all this up. Understanding your culture and the trauma behind it is extremely important. Because, like I said, you can't fix the problems of the present without acknowledging the past first. And you can't go into the future with the same problems of the present. So what I'm trying to say is that recognize your traumas of your past, fix those. That way your present can be better and your future can be better, because you deserve that. Nobody else deserves that except for you. Like the generational trauma that people go through, you got to realize, man, you can't pass it on to everybody. You can't pass it on to your kids, because they don't need that. You know what I mean? So, like, fix the problems of your present from your past, so that way when you go into the future, it's better for everybody else. All right, y'all. This is about 27 minutes of your life that you won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4 P's. Private player, positive pushing. See y'all next week. Love your ghosts. Like I always say, man, know your worth, because you're better than what you are. Peace.